The king Barou versus the dormant genius Nagi Sekiro. Despite being fan favorites, these two are polar opposites and always at each other's neck, even while being in the same team. This rivalry far extends beyond the simple question of who is better, rather it is a battle of ideology. So, in today's video we are going to break down each player's stats, abilities and explore their best feat to determine who comes on top. Before we do, however, if you enjoy this type of videos, please consider subscribing and joining my community Discord server for more amazing BLUELOCK theories and reviews. And now without any further ado, on with the video. Barou, a very egotistical character who thinks highly of himself, believes that he should shine more than anyone and that he deserves to lead more than anyone. But behind the egotistical facade, however, lies a very dedicated player. A focused and driven 17-year-old with nothing on his mind but to be the best in the world. As usual, we are going to start with the physical stats. Barou is a physically gifted player with great muscle mass and great overall stats, held back by only his mediocre speed. But before we go further, I would like to state that Barou is actually one of the few players that did not increase their physical stats that much ever since coming to BLUELOCK, due to his stats having already been refined by his insane training regime that he has been following since he was a kid. First, let's take a look at his muscle mass, strength and raw power. Barou presents one of the strongest physicalities in BLUELOCK, not quite as strong as Kunigami and Tokimitsu. However, his charges fully utilize his strength to slice through the defense, resulting in one of the most difficult strikers to stop head-on. Probably his biggest strength feat is his goal in the U20 game, forcing his way through Neo and Darai, who were not able to stop him at all. This raw power is backed up by an insane endurance, which enables him to keep the high performance throughout the game. Furthermore, in the Uber's game, we have seen after he scored the equalizer, he played like a madman, charging everyone at the center of the pitch and going up and down the field multiple times at an insane rate, which proves that his endurance numbers are really high. Next, let's talk about his jumping ability. Barou is a tall guy with great strength. However, we are yet to see jumping feats from him, so we have no clue about this stat. However, we could assume that it is above average due to his height. And finally, let's talk about his speed, which is his weakest stat. As you all know, having a great muscle mass hinders your ability to run fast, and while Barou is no different, as such he presents one of the lowest speed stats among the good players. And now that we are done with his stats, it's time we talk about his abilities and weapons. First, I'm going to make something clear. Almost all of Barou's weapons and abilities stem from his mindset. You can say that he is a man of his own creation. His ideology of striving for nothing less but the absolute best pushes him to train like none other in BLUELOCK. He is always the first to train and the last to leave the gym. Which leads us straight to his first weapon, his shooting ability. Born out of his training regime, with a 30-meter range, Barou has a cannon for a righty mid-range shot to the top right corner. Praised by Snuffy himself, this shooting ability is considered the best in BLUELOCK. Now, while Rin has the best accuracy, Kunigami the highest power, and Kaiser the biggest shooting speed, Barou presents the second best numbers in each category and thus having the overall best shooting ability, just behind Kaiser's honestly broken impact. Being a very consistent weapon, his shooting ability is at the center of his playing style. Barou's aforementioned charges are the biggest example of this. He uses them to get in range. And to further improve his odds, Barou also presents an above average dribbling ability, with techniques that aren't really coherent with each other, and are meant to get the job done and pass few players like his heel flick. However, in the second selection, Barou evolved and added a new technique, which is his lightning dribbling, that consists of chop feints followed by acute angle cuts. This increased his threat level exponentially, as due to his shooting accuracy, his chops are more than often successful in throwing even the best defenders and getting him in range. Furthermore, Barou also presents a great sense of scoring. Regardless of the situation, the score or the team he's on, he is always looking for his own goal, constantly hunting for any opportunity to score. Even after scoring multiple goals, he still hungers for them, which makes him a true goal hunter, a predator you could say. Which leads us straight to talk about his best weapon, that is his ocular ability, the Predator Eyes. Now, I've already covered this ability in previous videos, but in essence, Predator Eyes are a weapon that is meant for pure strikers, that ensures that their shots get translated into goals, either by hunting the goalkeeper or hunting for an otherwise impossible narrow course to force his shot through. Now, one of the prerequisites for these eyes is the player's shooting ability, which fits perfectly with Barou's, who, as far as we've seen, is the only U20 player that can utilize both types of Predator eyes. The Goalkeeper hunting ability that we've seen from Rin, and the Goal Course hunting ability that we've seen from Kaiser, resulting in him being the ultimate goal hunter. One final thought about Barou: he has always shown a level of adaptability. When being cornered, Barou has no issue deconstructing his plays and rebuilding them. His chop dribbles, his goal in the U20 game, and him taking over Ubers are all byproducts of this adaptability. And while not on the level of Isigi, as his is actually insane, it still enables him to evolve and be the dominant player that he is. But can he beat Nagi? Nagi Seishiro, a beloved character and a fan favorite player, with what's probably the biggest latent talent in the series. But also, Nagi is the laziest. He finds doing anything a pain, even eating. The only thing on his mind is playing video games on his phone. But that's just scratching the surface with Nagi. In fact, underneath lies a very egotistical player who does things only when he likes it, but also hates losing more than anything. However, if there is anything to be said about Nagi, it is his raw talent. So let's get to his stats. One look at Nagi's stats would reveal a player with pretty much average physical abilities, with few exceptions. The first stat we are going to check is his speed, which is not that impressive, and in the same vein his endurance is on the weaker side, with him often choosing to only stay in the attack and does not even bother going back. This, however, could be attributed to his laziness and not to his physical traits, but I digress. The next stat we are going to look at is his raw power and strength. While Nagi seems to be very skinny, he packs quite the punch, oddly enough. In the second selection, he was able to hold off Kunigami. Even though it wasn't a complete cover, he was strong enough to make Kunigami think of passing instead of forcing his way through. More impressively, however, in the first selection we saw how he was able to wrestle with Barou and take him by surprise to score the final goal, which is something I thought it was worth mentioning. Finally, his jumping ability, and due to Nagi's height, this stat is rather impressive, to the point of rivaling the aerial king Aryo for a bit at the start of the series. Nagi also presents a very unique skill which helps him in this department, that is his body structure. This physical trait works as the perfect gateway to speaking about his weapons, so let's explore it. As described by Chris Prince, for a few seconds Nagi gets into a state where every muscle in his body relaxes, giving him near total control over it, and enabling him to pull off some crazy stunts from the way he shoots to the way he traps the ball. In essence, his ball control while in this relaxed state is second to none, and his abilities are born from this level of control. Speaking of which, it's time for his weapons. There is no need to prolong in the obvious. Nagi's skill set revolves around his trapping ability, which is off the charts honestly. The crazy state Chris spoke of activates naturally when Nagi is in a trapping or shooting motion. This enables him to trap the ball in situations that seem inhumane, and when adding his tall posture to this, Nagi is a very reliable striker that can easily handle almost all types of passes. Also, after training under Prince, Nagi took his trapping into a whole new level by introducing creativity into how he traps the ball rather than doing it instinctively. This helped him in bypassing the biggest limiting factor, that is smart-ass players like Rin dealing with him right after he traps the ball. This turned Nagi into a fiend with limitless options. However, it does not end here. His insane state is not just limited to his trapping, as it works when he's shooting as well, granting him a very powerful shooting ability, but more importantly great control over his shot. And this proves to be fatal in range and hard to deal with, as it opens his options even more. On the topic of dealing with Nagi, one of his signature moves is a combination of his deadly weapons. There is his fake volley shot. Depending on the situation, Nagi can use a shot-like motion that is actually a trap and lifts the ball over the defender. Add to that the fact that Nagi has the highest ball control in the U20 category, and his fake volley trick can be used multiple times and in succession to beat almost any opponent and makes Nagi one of the trickiest strikers to deal with. But can he beat the king? For how this matchup will go, it is essential to note that looking at their stats and weapons is not enough. Barou and Nagi's rivalry is a battle of ideology more than anything else, and thus it is the biggest deciding factor for this matchup. But before we do that, let's compare the two players' playing styles, stats and abilities and see who comes on top there, and then we move to their ideology clash. First, when speaking about stats, Barou seems to be the better player. Even though a bit slower, Barou has more power, better endurance and much better dribbling. Nagi trumps him when it comes to aerial mobility, but as always, we got to take things to a real field and evaluate both players in a real game. As we all know, Barou and Nagi play for the same position, of a pure striker, and thus they will not be facing each other head-on that often. But from what we've seen from Barou in the Bastard game, we can expect to see him get back to defense as well as charge at Nagi. Whether he can stop him, however, that's a different story. I can see him doing the same he did to Kaiser and Isagi, trying to block his shot. However, as we spoke earlier, Nagi has the best shot control in BLUELOCK, and it won't be that easy as blocking Isagi's predetermined direct shot. And also, trying to charge at Nagi to stop him head-on will also prove to be futile, due to his fake volley shenanigans. It's going to be like the second selection, and Barou will have a very difficult time stopping Nagi, especially in the penalty box. But what about stopping Barou? I believe Nagi will almost have zero chance of doing so. With no great positioning due to him having no meta vision, Nagi will not be able to target him in his choke point like Isagi was doing. Hell, even with meta vision, Barou still evolved and started understanding Isagi's plays and overcame them. And so all Nagi can do is to face him head on, which is where their stats prove Barou to be superior. In addition to him being able to dribble past him, Barou has Predator eyes and can always find the fitting short course and would be near unstoppable for Nagi. With this, I would say Barou has better chances at stopping Nagi than the other way around. And also with the fact that Barou can lead his team and be their light so they can embody his goal vision, something that Nagi failed miserably at, I can see Barou dominating. In fact, this leads us straight to talking about their ideologies. As I stated earlier, Barou and Nagi are polar opposites. One believes that practice makes perfect, and the other finds making any effort just annoying. And thus it is not surprising they were always at each other's necks. It wasn't a mere coincidence that the writer put them both with Isagi in the second selection. I believe there was a message behind, a lesson to be learned, and the results of the NEL are the biggest proof. Having talent for something can really get you far. However, building yourself and pushing it to the best it could be, to be pursuing nothing but the absolute best and work tirelessly for that sole purpose is the path that leads to greatness. Rin, Isagi and Barou, the top 3 of the NER right now, all have the desire to be the best and nothing but the best. Barou serves as the extreme example that having a talent for something should always be backed up by seriousness and dedication, and that's what will propel you to being number 1. As such, in their matchup, Nagi will not be trying his best as he will find it just annoying, while Barou will always be doing his best and always aiming to score and dominate the battle. With this in mind, it even sways more and more towards Barou, and I believe he is the better player of the two. And at this point, if Nagi doesn't awaken his ego or take things seriously, the fight will not even be close. One final thought, we have seen how loss really motivates Nagi, and so his loss against Rin could give us a motivated Nagi and we might see a cool fight. But until then, I think Barou stomps. So that's it for the video guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, thank you for watching.